Alright guys, today's the day. Today's the day that Wonka's going to get introduced to the e-collar. So I have the e-collar fit snug on his neck so he's got good contact. Contact is super, super important. If you don't have a good contact, then the dog won't feel it at the lower levels, and then you'll just keep scrolling up because you think they're not feeling it. And then all of a sudden it'll make the contact and your dog will just get lit up, and that's not what we want. So I don't know why he's standing like that. Maybe I don't know why. But I have the e-collar paired to the sound box, so every time that I'm using the e-collar, you'll hear it. I don't normally like to condition or introduce the dog to the e-collar with the sound box because the dog tends to focus more on the sound than on the stimulation. But he can't hear it, so silver linings. But I do like that you will be able to hear the timing of when I use this. So the idea is that I'm going to tap at the lowest level possible and see at what level he gives me some sort of indication that he's feeling something. So he's going to be hard. I think he might be starting to feel that. That's at a 3. I'm not convinced though. Okay, let's go with a 5. Even if that's a little higher than the absolute minimum that he can feel, it's not going to cause any harm. And I'm fairly confident that he can feel that. So we'll start with that. So the idea is that I'm going to put the e-collar pressure on, guide him to me, release the pressure when he gets to me, and then give him this food reward. Because you want to start the conditioning process with something that he knows. So normally that's recall. Then you work on some other things that the dog already knows so that you layer that pressure on top of what the dog already knows. So his recall is going to be leash pressure guidance into me. And this is going to turn into an actual e-collar recall. So put that there. So pressure on, guidance, off, tap, tap, good, food. There you go. I don't want him to find that whole food bowl. Hi, gotta interrupt real quick. So in this video, I do a very shitty job explaining why I leave the e-collar pressure on until the dog gets all the way back to me. So when I condition an e-collar to a dog that can see or hear, I normally will give the marker word or the marker signal, hand signal if they're deaf, as soon as that dog turns and commits to coming back to me. That's normally when I release the pressure and give the marker signal, and that helps build speed to come back to the owner. So I can't do that with Wonka because he cannot see or hear, so he has no frame of reference of where I am except for the leash pressure. So I want him to come back to me with the leash pressure and with the stimulation. So that's where I start. And especially the biggest reason that I don't release the pressure as soon as he commits to coming back to me is that he doesn't have a marker signal that I can give him from a distance yet. So his marker signal is 2 taps on the forehead. I can't do that from a distance to help build speed as soon as he commits to coming back to me. Because 1, he doesn't know exactly where I am except for the leash pressure, and 2, he doesn't have that distance marker signal. So after I condition the stimulation, so the end goal is a tap, 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 means go find your person, and that will turn off when you find your person. So that's the end goal. But once I condition that, then I can, or at least get him somewhat fluent in the language of the e-collar. He's saying hello. Then I can introduce the distance marker signal, which is going to be just a quick buzz on the e-collar. So I like to condition the stimulation before the vibration if I'm going to use the vibration, because the vibration tends to be more of a startle than the stimulation. So if I start with the stem and get them comfortable with the collar, the vibration tends to be less of a startle than it would have been if you just put the collar on and made a buzz. So that's the intent. So the intent is going to be that his remote marker signal is a quick buzz on the e-collar. That means, yes, good job. And that will help build speed too. But again, he doesn't know exactly where I am without that leash pressure. So I got to get it really solid in the beginning of coming completely back to your person makes that pressure go away. So yeah, that's why I'm doing that. Just little side note there. So e-collar pressure, guidance, off, tap, tap, good job. Food. So the e-collar pressure eventually is going to mean, hey, come look for me. I hope that you can see over here. So grab some food, leave him standing right there. E-collar pressure, guidance, off, tap, tap, good job. And this is how you condition any dog to the e-collar, not just a deaf dog, blind and deaf. Pressure, guidance, off, tap, tap, good job, there's your food. This is a lot to manage in my hands here, so this is why I wanted to do it instead of having the owner do it, because my e-collar pressure timing is pretty good. And if I just have the owner do it, she's learning something new along with all of this stuff, so it's better that I do it. So pressure, guidance, off, tap, tap, good job. And it looks like I'm like knocking him in the head. I'm not. It's just a little firm tap. So e-collar, guidance, off, tap, tap, good job. Here's your food. All right, e-collar pressure, guidance. Just be a little stubborn, that's all right. Off, top, tap, good job. Okay, e-collar, guidance, off, tap, tap. Here's your food. Oh, hey, he's starting to get it there. There you go. Forgot to tap on that one. Even the dog trainers sometimes mess up. So just as a reminder, this e-collar pressure is very, very low. There we go. Very, very low. So even at a 5, I can't feel a 5 on me. I'm just going to do this until he runs out of food. And that's honestly, that's a pretty good gauge for how long you should be working with your dog on something new like this. If you have the luxury of being able to work on something several times a day for very short periods, do that. If you have to work less frequently, maybe once or twice a day, but for longer periods, that's okay. It's not the end of the world, but it's better if you can do this several times a day for short periods. And that goes for anything that you're trying to teach your dog. Obviously, you have to balance what's realistic with your schedule. So eventually his recall cue with the e-collar is likely going to be a tap, 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 tap at a low level. Because when it's continuous pressure, like what I'm doing now, if he's like out running around in the backyard, he might have pressure on him for 10-15 seconds while he finds his owner. And that's not really fair, because it can cause some anxiety if they're feeling that pressure for extended periods without some sort of indication of whether they're doing the right thing or not. So the stimulation is not painful in itself at all, especially at this low level. But even at a low level, if you're not giving the dog any feedback, like yes, you're getting closer, or no, you're getting farther away, that kind of deal, it can cause some anxiety. So the idea would be to do a tap, 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 which means, hey, we'll go look for your person. Go try to find your person. So all the while that he's feeling this tap, 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 when he finds his owner, that goes away. But in itself, the tap, tap, tap is going to be less intrusive than a continuous pressure while he's looking, if that makes sense. And we'll obviously kind of fiddle around with that and see what makes the better decision, what makes the better choice, whether that's continuous or tapping. But we'll see. I have a feeling that it's going to be the tap that's going to be the more successful. But in the beginning, regardless, you condition with the continuous pressure because it makes it a lot easier for the dog to understand what turns that pressure off when it's a continuous pressure rather than a tap, tap, tap. So part of the conditioning process will include some taps, but in the beginning it's going to be continuous pressure for the first couple sessions. So stay tuned.